What's cracking, everybody? XehrFelrose here, bringing you some Pokemon GO Battle League content. In today's video, we're going to be taking a look at some strong teams in both the Ultra League and the Master League that you can play this week while all three leagues are in rotation. Now, these are going to be 5 teams that, from my experience, are strong. There's tons more on PvPoke. If you go to the train page on the top right corner of the screen here, you can go to the top performers and select your preferred league to play, and you can find good Pokemon that are performing well in the meta, as well as teams. So, for example, top usage team and rating wise is going to be Sandslash, Cresselia, Poliwrath in the Ultra League. That's an example. I'm not going to show you all of these teams because honestly, you could just go here and look at them. So I'm going to pick my 3 favorite teams for Ultra League and my 2 thing. Oh, I'm really bad. I'm not gonna lie. My team building is good, but Master League is not my forte. So some 2 strong teams that I think are really good in the Master League. We're going to start off with this first team here. That's going to be Regirock, Virizion, Golisopod. Now, I'm going to keep it a buck with y'all. Okay, and I've been using that term a lot lately because I picked it up from somebody that I respect, so it just kind of fits, right? So Regirock does not have to be the only thing you can put in the lead for this team. Okay, you can use something like Aurorus, another rock type that's just a really strong anti-flyer. You could also use an electric type like XehrFelrose, or you could use Heliolisk if you want. There's Steelix even works for this team. There's a lot of strong options as long as they fulfill that hard anti-flyer role. Okay. Virizion is the closer on this team. Golisopod is the designated safe swap. I'm going to be honest with y'all, okay? If you don't have a Golisopod for Ultra League, it needs to be a priority thing. Find somebody that has them to trade with you. Just something, because the Golisopod is just absolutely insane for the Ultra League. Y'all have seen it on a bunch of my teams because it's just so good. It has that very safe swap mentality with it that it can hit back against a lot of its hard counters and put shields into matchups and win because of liquidation. Excuse me, that was out of nowhere. We got Virizion on here as the closer, but that one is up to you if you want to run it with Sacred Sword or Stone Edge. In the recent meta, I think honestly going for Leaf Blade Stone Edge might actually be the better play here. But let's take a look at the team here in the Sims, right? So we've got coverage against almost everything. This team is a little bit weak to Tentacruel, but you can manage it because Regirock does resist the poison jabs. Might need to put an extra shield down on the matchup to take it, or finesse some stuff with your Golisopod and Virizion, you know, get the Tentacruel low, then get some damage in somewhere else. There's ways around it. It's not a dominant Pokemon that beats the whole team, right? But I have been able to get out of so many negative situations with this team. It's really, really strong. I believe Ataxin also made the team and played it. So he and I are obviously sharing brain cells at this point. But like Zygarde, no one's running. Okay, a few people running Zygarde, but Tentacruel is really the only meta-relevant thing that beats this team. And then you've got things like Poliwrath, Cresselia, and I'm not gonna talk about Skarmory, but like there are things that can be played against with these Pokemon that makes it a very strong, flexible team. So let's take a look at number 2 in the Ultra League here. Is going to be a team that I've been running recently myself to great success. This is the team I hit veteran with this season, early on in the season before the end of the first Ultra League rotation. It's going to be Deoxys Defense, Guzzlord, and Greedent. I don't know if you guys have an XL Greedent. I would understand if you didn't, but again, it's one of those things that it's becoming a necessity to have like a Golisopod. It's so ridiculously spammy and strong that even in negative matchups with a little bit of energy, that little squirrel can just do whatever it pleases, and you're using Deoxys and Greedent to whittle down the opponent's resources while Guzzlord gets in there for the sweep. Very similar to the Deoxys team that I was running last season with Steelix and Obstagoon, right? Very similar strategy here, just using Greedent instead of the Steelix and Guzzlord instead of the Obstagoon. Deoxys is just an absolute... Deoxys has been a timeless pick. I know that not everybody has one, and if you don't have a Deoxys, you can run Tentacruel on the lead if you have one of those. That was a team that Home Slice Henry had put out with the Tentacruel lead, so a video does exist on that team, and I have not done a video on this team yet because I haven't been able to record games with it. Just unfortunate, but the team doesn't do so great as far as the coverage rating, but we don't really look at that anyway because this is an anti-meta team that is really specifically focused around being able to beat some of the more common things, right? The meta in the Ultra League is currently very centralized around beating Poliwrath, so we're going to see a lot of things that beat Poliwrath in the meta, so some of them being things like Cresselia, some of them being, you know, flyers, it's just Tapu Fini, right? Like, not all of these things are great for this team, but a lot of the things that we have been seeing, you know, people trying to run This team fares very well, and it's so bulky that even a Guzzlord up against a Fairy type isn't horrible as long as you have the right resources and shields for it. So the team on paper, obviously, there are quite a few things that can beat the entire team on paper, but again, I'm not super worried about it because there's the chance of somebody running all three is incredibly low. Registeel, Tapu Fini, Tentacruel, Clefable, Pidgeot, Steelix, and all this is in the ones, right? Like, there's definitely ways for you to get around these Pokemon. This team is extremely flexible and extremely bulky and allows you a lot of situations that the simulations not necessarily don't show. So, that in mind, let's take a look at number 3. This is a team that I ran several seasons ago and still was running. I actually got very close to veteran with this team before I switched to the Deoxys team. Alolan Sandslash does beat a lot of the things that are being used to counter the Poliwrath. Tons of Giratina, tons of Cresselia, tons of things like that. So Golisopod comes back once again as an ideal safe swap for this team. We're running Dragon Breath Giratina in the back to sweep with the ability to get through a lot of things that would beat it. So the dark types, right, are still going to have to deal with that dragon oppressive damage. And you've got Golisopod in the back as that safe swap that's able to really chew through some things that really, you know, the Sandslash doesn't like, namely being things like Talonflame, Poliwrath, etc. So Sandslash, an incredibly strong core breaker, but you always have to be careful of it getting matched up against Poliwrath. And then people are like, you're running Sandslash in a Poliwrath Talonflame meta? Yes, because you can play around those things with Sandslash. The energy that it has is always valuable because it has near perfect coverage against everything not named Golisopod. So, very strong team here. I like it a lot. I think that it has gotten to the point where this team and the Deoxys team, I just flip between the two of them because I feel like they're very strong depending on the way the meta feels that day. And the things are that this team loses to, they don't lose. Like, if I look at all of these things, Registeel, Regirock, Tapu Fini, Green being the exception here, that, you know, Golisopod, you know, Giratina, Sandslash, all have a little bit of trouble with Green, but you can definitely get around it. Right, your Giratina can 2-shield through a Green in that same matchup with Dragon Breath, but like all the things that on this list otherwise that your Sandslash can deal with 2 shields rather than just 1. You can flip the Registeel and Regirock around. Tapu Fini's not having a good time against Golisopod or Sandslash with shields. You know, G-Fisk still has to land the Earthquake in order to beat the Sandslash and doesn't really have a super great time against most other things on this team. So it's a very strong team, but we can now flip over to the Master League side of things where I can show my absolute amateur opinion, but at least I know some good teams for it. This team is a personal favorite of mine. It's been one of those teams that I have been looking forward to being able to run when I someday get a Dialga in the Master League built. Maybe the Sinnoh will bless me. I have a Hundo and I have a shiny 96 and I have to pick. That's the hardest decision you could have given me by giving me those two things. But, Zekrom is a very good anti-meta dragon as it does do very well into those Kyogre and Ho-Oh that could be lurking in the back. Ho-Oh by itself, with the buffed Incinerate, is just absolutely insane now. Able to go straight for a Brave Bird after getting the Incinerate shielded against Dialga and almost KOing it, and even in some cases does KO it. And Dialga is just being one of the strongest Pokemon in the Master League with that defensive steel typing, able to really, you know, play into a lot of its counters with Draco Meteor and Iron Head on that moveset. Has a B rating, and that's always good to see. And the Zekrom Dialga has strong play into the meta here. Ho-Oh able to really wall off Groudon, and even though I think it's a little bit of Brave Bird sims, you know, Xerneas and Zacian both have a very bad time against Ho-Oh unless, you know, they're running Thunder / Wild Charge, depending on which one you're using. But overall, this team, super, super strong, but you have to be careful about Rhyperior. That's going to be the one main thing in this meta that can really dash this team into the ground is, if you're not careful, a Rhyperior would chew through it very, very easily. So I know that that's becoming a slightly more popular pick, and if it is, then, you know, so be it. It is kind of what it is. I think this next team here might be a little bit more for you if you see a lot of Rhyperiors. So Rhyperior into this team, it doesn't do as well, right? It does have a lot of play, of course, into, you know, depending on the situation, but overall, you know, Mudslap being double resisted by Rayquaza, as you saw in the video that I played this week with Rhyperior in it, Rayquaza can go and chew through the Rhyperior if you shield up at least one of the breaking swipes. I mean, even then, as long as you don't eat a Rock Wrecker, you're fine. And Groudon, really strong core mate with Rayquaza. Now, the team that you could also put here is, and if you really want like the best Master League team and somehow you're a whale with the resources to do it, is Complete Form Zygarde and Solgaleo. And you don't even need a third Pokemon, really. Like, those are the best two Pokemon to pair with each other. They make a perfect core in the Master League, which we haven't had a Pokemon core that strong in this game in almost forever. So if that's any way to, you know, evaluate that core, it's insane. But the Rayquaza Groudon core has always been a personal favorite of mine because I don't have most of the Pokemon in the Master League. I don't have a Zacian, so if you don't have a Zacian like me, you could put a Xerneas in here. And if you don't have a Xerneas, then you could try like Mewtwo or, you know, something else, something super safe that you can put back there in order to try and get some sort of an advantage. Rayquaza is still very strong, even though Breaking Swipe is only a 50% debuff right now. And Groudon, y'all know Groudon. Precipice Blades is an absolutely busted move, and it's very, very strong in this meta. Overall, the coverage into the meta, you may have an issue with Ho-Oh, but as you are probably well aware, more from experience, more so than Sims, the Rayquaza has a pretty good matchup into Ho-Oh. You just have to shield a Brave Bird and not eat one. Then you're sitting pretty there in that situation. You're sitting pretty in that. Yes, man, I don't even. My brain was just like, English, what is that? So in this particular team, right, you just want to try to maneuver yourself in such a situation where your Groudon's not matched up against a Flyer and your Rayquaza's not matched up against a Steel or something that hard. Like, this is a slightly RPS sort of team, but the returns on this core can be very good if you play it right. So with that, guys, we're just going to leave the teams here. Hopefully some of them help you, whether you go to the training page on PV Poker or you use one of these teams. Let me know in the comments if you find any success with these teams this week. And as always, I appreciate y'all, and we'll catch you in the next video. Bye-bye.